Welcome everyone. My name is Sean, and today I want to talk to you about a story that was sent over to me by a friend recently. It's a bit of an old story, but it is a mother confronting District Attorney Alvin Bragg on his total lack of desire to prosecute the killers of her son. Now, we're going to get into this. We're going to break this down. We're going to talk about how even before District Attorney Alvin Bragg, laws like bail reform gave this woman incredible pause. But before we do, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay?
Good morning. My name is Alvin Bragg. I am the chairwoman of Victims' Rights Reform Council. I'm also the mother of a homicide victim. My son, Sergeant Hason Correa, Afghanistan War retired veteran, was killed in Harlem in 2018. Hason was kicked, punched, stomped, and stabbed 9 times by 4 individuals he did not know, nor had he done them any harm. All 4 of these individuals were apprehended, and all 4 charged with first-degree gang assault and second-degree murder. This case just resolved this year.
So this is Madeleine Brame. Now, you might recognize her because she actually spoke at the Republican National Convention in 2024, and the reason why she became an activist in terms of victims' rights is due to the fact that she ran up hard against the New York City, New York State criminal justice system, and although in this particular video, she's criticizing specifically District Attorney Alvin Bragg's office, it's important for you to understand that people started messing around with the case involving her son's killers back in 2020 or really 2019 in the lead up to the implementation of New York's notorious bail reform law. In fact, she did a segment on a local news affiliate when it was announced that they reduced the bail of one of the individuals who participated in the gang assault against her son, and this individual in particular actually held her son back as he tried to escape when he had 11 stab wounds, and this ultimately ended up leading to his death. And of course, Sergeant Hason Correa was a United States military veteran. He served our country in Afghanistan, and he was killed by these random gangsters just for visiting his father's home, which was this Harlem apartment building. And in addition to that, they tried to kill the father too, who suffered 12 stab wounds in the same attack. And by the way, this was all on video. We have clear and obvious evidence of these 4 people's involvement, but back in 2020, she did this segment where she talked about her son's killers, one of them being released due to bail reform.
To the bail reform laws causing so many people to be upset. My guest tonight is Madeleine Brame, and her son was killed in 2018, yes, fatally stabbed in Manhattan on West 152nd Street. Yes. We have photos of him. He's an Army vet, yes. Sergeant Hason Correa. Yes. He served in Afghanistan. He was in the Air National Guard in New York, yes, and a number of years in the U.S. Army.
8 years.
So he was stabbed in 2018 along with his father. Yes. And there were several people, multiple people, yes, charged in this case, including a woman and some of her brothers. Yes. Okay, so you're upset now because this woman was in jail since 2018 when she was caught, $750,000 bail. Yes. She could not make it. No. All right, a week before Christmas, we find out the bail's going to be slashed to $12,000?
$12,000.
And what was the reason the judge accepted this?
Well, there were multiple reasons, but the main reason being the new bail reform law.
Even though a violent felony is not supposed to be part of this? Yes. So who told you, or what sense did you get that that was part of
because I was in the courtroom the day of December 18th was the court date, and her lawyers requested to hear the bail, for the judge to hear the bail application again because of the new bail reform law.
Even though it had nothing to do with a murder
nothing
case?
Nothing to do with it.
Okay.
It's not even, her charges are first-degree gang assault and second-degree murder.
So look, as we've gone over on this channel multiple different times, it is important for you guys to understand that New York State bail reform not only guaranteed a same-day automatic release to multiple different violent felons, despite the fact that they said, oh, it definitely doesn't cover violent felonies, but in addition to that, it also requires judges in all cases to try to use the least restrictive means possible when you're dealing with adjudicating bail for someone. So in this particular particular case, you had somebody with an appropriate $750,000 bond, as they were a blood gang affiliated person who is on video participating in this murder, and that bond was reduced to $12,000 based on the idea that they couldn't afford the higher bail, therefore they were guaranteed a lower bail by the judge, and essentially the hands of the judge were tied, which is something that we talked about over and over and over again in the city and in the state of New York, although to be clear, bail reform is a statewide law. So this is even before District Attorney Alvin Bragg got his filthy, disgusting hands on this particular case. You can already see that laws in New York State are giving a break to the killers. And one of the things that I find to be absolutely tragic about this particular interview is this woman's confidence in the justice system even after this, talking about how there was a plea deal offered, but don't worry, because this woman rejected that 18-year plea deal, she will likely be facing 25 years because that is the appropriate sentence when you go to trial and get convicted of the murder which she was already charged with.
You know, that should be alarming, and that should have been a huge question for the judge, because Mary was offered, off the record, 18 years for her part in the murder.
She was offered a plea bargain.
Yes. Okay. Her lawyers rejected it. After trial and conviction, Mary Saunders is looking at 25 years. If that was me, knowing that I'm looking at all this time, that might be the first thing that comes to my mind.
Now, little did Madeleine Brame know at this moment in time that what she was talking about was the old system, the sensible system, the system where if you brutally murder somebody on camera, if you participate in that murder, if you prevent somebody who was stabbed from getting away from the attackers who happen to be your siblings, then you would be held accountable for those actions. But in reality, what District Attorney Alvin Bragg did in this case was completely different. And again, I will point out that Hason Correa, he was somebody who served our country in the United States military, had a clean record, had 3 children of his own that were left in this world without him, all because these stupid gangbangers ended up in an altercation with somebody else prior to him arriving to the apartment, and they decided that they were going to take it out and jump him like the cowards that they are.
After trial and conviction, Mary Saunders is looking at 25 years. If that was me, knowing that I'm looking at all this time, that might be the first thing that comes to my mind.
Now, as you can imagine, what this woman is saying is 100% true. If you have all of this on video, if it is captured for the world to see, although very notably, this video was not released to the public, even though one of the suspects was a fugitive for 7 months after this particular instance, then this is a layup. This is a slam dunk. This is a solid case, easily prosecutable. But of course, this wouldn't be a story if District Attorney Alvin Bragg did the appropriate thing and prosecuted the easily prosecutable case. He decided that he was going to take it apart piece by piece because, you know, those are innocent baby angel Aladdins who were just trying to feed their starving family by participating in a gang assault against a former United States military veteran who served in Afghanistan and his father. And what were they to do? Because obviously they were hungry. Obviously they were just so sad, and we got to think about the circumstances in their lives. So this is what actually happened in this particular case.
So this case drug on through the Manhattan criminal court system for 4.5 years. When Alvin Bragg came into office, he was handed a strong trial-ready murder case and gang assault case against all 4 of these individuals, where this brutal, savage homicide was captured on video. He was handed a strong trial-ready case, ready to go to trial. As soon as he took office, the case immediately began to unravel. He completely dismissed gang assault and murder indictments against 2 of the defendants, clearly on video, participating in the brutal, savage slaughter of my son. Mary Saunders, the sister involved in the homicide. He dismissed her indictment and recharged her with assault with a shoe and sentenced her to 1 year time served.
So right there, you heard about the woman who participated in this gang assault, and this is the same exact woman who obviously received that lowered bail back in 2020 due to New York State bail reform law. However, Alvin Bragg decided to double up on that by dismissing the murder indictment, by dismissing the gang assault indictment, and charging her with a simple assault because he's like, oh, all she did was assault this person with a shoe. However, as we heard from that 2020 segment, we actually know that she held the sergeant back so that he could not escape his attackers, thus being a participant in the murder. Let me play that section for you so you can understand how disgusting it is that this girl ended up getting 1 year time served.
Mary Saunders, this savage, is currently walking the streets of Harlem like she didn't just participate in the brutal slaughter of another human being. Home with her family, home with her children. If that's not a threat to public safety, I don't know what is. She's capable at any moment of snapping and attacking someone and holding them while someone else plunges a butcher knife into their body 9 times and another person 12 times and then run away and leave their body in the street to bleed to death.
In addition to that non-punishment, in addition to that lax prosecution, in addition to that injustice, we also have another reduction of another participant in this crime.
Travis Stewart dismissed his gang assault and murder indictment and sentenced him to attempted gang assault. And he pled guilty and sentenced him to 7 years. Travis will be out in the next 18 months.
Again, this man who participated in this brutal murder and an additional attempted murder of Sergeant Correa's father is going to be released 18 months from the time that she was in this particular hearing. This hearing was April of 2023. So a gang-affiliated individual is going to be out on the streets shortly into 2025, which is fast approaching. And this is despite the fact that the murder case against this individual was rock solid. But none of us should be surprised by this. If you'll recall, during the Daniel Penny case, people started looking into the person who was actually litigating the case, an assistant district attorney that worked for DA Alvin Bragg's office. This was somebody called Daphne Euron, and if you'll recall, Daphne Euron, assistant district attorney for the Matt and DA's office that was prosecuting Daniel Penny and trying every dirty trick to secure a conviction against him in a clear and obvious instance of self-defense, defense of others, talked about a case where there was somebody who was a lock for a felony murder charge who murdered somebody for $300 during an ATM robbery. However, Daphne Euron saw it completely differently.
So I'm going to give you an example of something that I did with a recent case of mine, and this has never been done in my office. I had a murder case where the defendant did not intentionally kill the victim. He went into an ATM on the Upper West Side and tried to rob an individual. Unfortunately, it was an older individual. He was 86. And in the course of the robbery, he fell to the ground, and as a result, he died. This is, under the law, a felony murder, which is akin to intentional murder. However, when I first got the case, I learned, I took the time to learn about the defendant. And it was a strong case, so it wasn't about a whodunit. I knew immediately who did it. I could prove it. I could take it to trial that day and win it. But it wasn't about that. It was that the more I learned about the defendant and his life and the circumstances, the kinds of things that Jarrell was talking about, that one should take into account the trauma of that individual, I really felt incredibly sorry for him that he had gotten to that point in his life where he felt like there was no other choice but to commit this robbery.
There are so many things about that clip that piss me off. First and foremost, Daphne ends up saying that the 86-year-old man who is the victim in that case fell to the ground during the course of the robbery and died. No, that is not what happened. In fact, there is surveillance video that can show you clearly and obviously he was shoved to the ground by the perpetrator who didn't care about his life and just wanted the instant gratification of $300. But in addition to that, the way that clip closes also really annoys me because you have Daphne, the assistant district attorney, somebody who's supposed to represent the people, somebody who's supposed to represent the state, a prosecutor, although it is a prosecutor in name only in Daphne's case, saying, I wanted to understand, or I felt like I truly understand after talking to the perpetrator, what led him in his life to feel like he needed to kill somebody for $300. And it was just so sad to me that this guy had such a sad life. And, you know, the family, whatever, who gives a damn about them? They don't matter. The victim doesn't matter at all. His life being taken away for $300. Who cares about that? Think about the innocent Beba Angel Aladdin killer who just had such a sad sack life. So there's no actual association of responsibility with the perpetrator, both in the motivation and in the actions. We're hearing about an Asian man who just stumbled to the ground during the course of a robbery, and this guy just happened to take his money, and oh, whoopsie upsie, he happened to die. No big deal. And that guy got a break. He got a slap on the wrist, despite his repeat criminal history. However, Daniel Penny prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. These 4 gangbangers that murdered somebody on video tried to murder somebody else. What are we even going to worry about them for? They're just innocent victims of society, and just like is promoted by the Majority Report, rather than think about the gang violence and the people that get murdered by these gang members, we should think about the societal implications and the systemic structures that lead people to do gang violence in the first place.
The thing with Venezuela, the Venezuela gangs and the slum in Colorado, is not that gang activity happens in slums. It's that the neglect that has led to those conditions, which, by the way, there were gangs that weren't Venezuelan in those slums before that, and not the overall conditions that lead to anything, any sort of gang activity, any sort of violence in places like this that is unaddressed. And it cannot be addressed simply by cops and border patrol.
Make no mistake about it, these cases that we're talking about are the exact consequences of these lefty ideas infiltrating our government, of these absolute idiots, these spoiled brat rich kids, these I went to university and I became a communist absolute idiot ideas infiltrating our government, infiltrating our district attorney's office. And that is, of course, the injustice that we see time and time again, because it just like was uttered by the Majority Report, we have a prosecution's office that is more concerned about arresting poverty, because apparently poverty is at fault for these people joining a gang and attacking people at random on the streets of New York. And honestly, if we ever find out what poverty is wearing, if you could put out an APB for poverty, you know, get a description of the clothes, maybe the hair color, then maybe, just maybe, in their opinion, we could solve criminality if we just go after poverty. Now, we can let all the criminals go while we're doing that, because we have our holier-than-thou absolute idiot mission of arresting poverty.
This is the type of criminal element that we have walking the streets of New York City on a daily basis. All types of criminal elements. Free to do what they want, when they want, however they want, to whomever they want, with no consequences, no deterrents. We have these anti-gang violence, these credible messenger. Millions and billions of our hard-earned tax dollars are going to fund these organizations that are doing absolutely nothing to deter this crime. They're doing absolutely nothing.
It's like we're living in the upside down. It's like we're living in Bizarro world. And honestly, maybe I should have worn the Bizarro shirt instead of this one to hammer that message home. But to me, it's absolute madness that on one side, you have people who say, Daniel Penny, absolute murderer. Even though he clearly and obviously restrained Jordan Neely, never intended to kill Jordan Neely, couldn't even be charged with murder, even under the corrupt system in the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. They say, nope, that's a clear case of murder. He murdered that guy because because he was black, because he was poor. And on the other hand, these people who participated in actual murder, somebody who held a man back as somebody else stabbed them, innocent baby angel Aladdin. What a sad life. We need to let her get home because God forbid we hold somebody who actually committed a clear and ambiguous murder in custody and accountable for those crimes. And by the way, this can be stretched to that Luigi Maggione guy. It's on video that this man shot somebody else in the back, and I don't give a damn that he's a United Healthcare CEO, and I don't give a damn that it's not just the left wing, that some idiots on the right are supporting that murder either. But yeah, those cases are unjustifiable. This case that this mom is talking about, unjustifiable. Daniel Penny's case, clearly and obviously justifiable, yet we have an entire media complex, an entire left wing, and some idiots on the right wing when it comes to certain cases saying no, just the opposite, that a clear, obvious murder, maybe we should let it go. Maybe we should, go easy on that person because I like their reasons, or I like this, or I like that, or some other nonsense. We have to have a logical basis for which we construct our laws around, and letting go premeditated murderers should not be within that basis. And if you're saying that you're on the right and you agree with some of these cases, i.e. the United Healthcare CEO being killed and us going soft on that killer, you're part of the problem too. And in fact, you're worse, especially if you're in my audience and you've seen me time and time again criticize these soft on crime attitudes and policies that I've been reviewing for years, and you still somehow don't get that that is not acceptable, and neither is the cultural attitudes that promote that acceptable as well.
And I propose that not another dime of our federal tax dollars be pumped into these organizations until they can produce some measurable outcomes of effectiveness of what they're doing with our tax dollars to protect the public.
Audience, there is no audience participation. Ms. Brame, you keep going.
And as far as the Manhattan District Attorney's office, if he's receiving 1 penny of federal dollars, you need to pull that funding until he starts doing his damn job and prosecuting crime. I was totally disrespected. Me, my family, my grandchildren, we were treated like garbage. Like garbage. I've sat for 4.5 years and saw mothers walk in and out. We have a mother sitting here right now whose two sons, one died and the other one is on a colonoscopy bag. This is out of Darcel Clark's jurisdiction. So I'm not the only one. There are hundreds and thousands of us. We don't give a damn about your politics. We don't care. It could be the man from the moon who's running for president, okay? As long as whoever's in there, it stands for law and order and is going to return some civility and sanity to our city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, Madeleine Brame is 100% correct in her assessment of these situations, and I do agree with her that there is no way that federal government dollars should go to offices like the Manhattan District Attorney's Office that consistently refuses to do its job, that consistently bends over backwards in order to aid the criminal. And I do love the fact that she ended up getting applause and they had to cut off the applause because that is not the purpose of this hearing. The woman has powerful words. She suffered a great injustice. First, the injustice of her son being murdered for no reason by these gang members. Then, with the bail reform law kicking in, releasing one of those killers onto the streets. And then the follow-up was the soft prosecution with clear and obvious easy murder cases by District Attorney Alvin Bragg's office. But you know what? Those are just my thoughts. I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. If you like the video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on my social medias, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about the absolute madness and what people really do experience through these soft on crime laws. Till next time.